Two old guys that ain't taking their crap no more. You're listening to Earl and George.
Can I just say that as soon as that music comes on, I get pumped up, man. I don't know why, but I so look forward to this show with all of the crap that goes on during the week in our political system. I'm chomping at the bit, Earl, to do this show. Welcome to Earl and George, a weekly wrap-up show of all the political nonsense going on in Washington. The only weekend show you need to listen to learn about all about the things that are happening from a perspective that just is no bull crap.
Right.
My name is George.
And I'm Earl.
And that's Mr. Producer in the Fishbowl. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good.
Did you have a good week?
Yeah.
Did you have a good week?
Yeah.
Are you okay? Did you get enough milk and bread and toilet paper and all that stuff because of the government shutdown?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you were talking about the snow apocalypse.
Snow apocalypse in Alabama. We broadcast from the great state of Alabama. Thank you for listening all over the world. Thank you for continuing to support the show, downloading our mobile app and listening on Spreaker and listening on SoundCloud and all of the other places that I don't know, but Earl does. On our Facebook page are actually some of the links to where you can download the show later or listen to it live like you're doing right now if you want to do all that stuff. And by the way, we totally track you like the NSA, so be sure to click those links,
of course,
multiple times. Share them with your friends. Just log into their account and do it. I mean, who cares? But we want to appreciate everybody for listening to the show, and thank you to our growing international audience. Yes, America is that screwed up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It is. However, this week coming up on the show, we are going to talk about, I posted it on our Facebook page, and then I took it down. We're going to talk about the government shutdown, obviously, the big news of the week, and what exactly is a non-essential employee. I have several friends of mine that are non-essential employees, and yeah, so I assume they're kind of pissed right now.
Right. As well as our soldiers.
Who is to blame? Well, we're going to talk about military funding a little bit because I have some experience with military funding. Who's actually to blame because of this? And, we're going to give it a common sense breakdown. It's not going to just be, I hate these people. That's not what we're about. We're about truth and facts, and that's what we're going to give you. So, being about truth and facts, we're going to break down what the hell is this DACA thing anyway, right? We're going to break that down for you. And we'll talk about some of the things that are going with sanctuary cities in California, all kinds of crazy stuff. But also, we're going to move away from immigration. We're going to do all of that stuff because we've got the kids rescued in California. This is huge national news.
Right.
And what would drive a parent to treat your own child, 13 of your own children this way.
Right. Don't get it. Don't understand it.
And I want to break off a little bit and talk about the International Olympic Committee. And what an outrage, absolute, unmitigated outrage it is that they decided to let North Korea participate in the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, this was something you had on your Facebook.
And
something you and your mom actually agreed about on your Facebook.
Yeah, my mom and I love my mom. Okay, I'm planning her 80th birthday party. We're going to New Orleans. We got a hotel set up. I'm taking her to the Court of the Two Sisters. In fact, I'm taking 20 plus people out for dinner for her 80th birthday bash. So yeah,
sweet.
It's gonna run me like $2,000. So I love my mom, but she and I are pretty much political opposites, which is fine. That's okay. She's allowed to be that way. I'm allowed to be this way. But it's some of those that we're gonna, and I have to shield her from a lot of people on Facebook who don't know that this woman who doesn't share my last name is posting on my Facebook post constantly, like poking the bear.
Right.
So my friends will jump in there, and I'm like, okay, guys, this is my mom. So I always put mom in. Okay, mom, love you, that stuff like that. But those conversations are a lot of fun because
I've enjoyed them.
I respect her position. She will challenge me, and I'll give her the answer, and then she goes away, and then she'll find something else to do.
Right.
Because I deal in facts, and I deal in truth. I don't deal in conjecture or talking points. So I want to start right off the top with something that I totally missed last week. Absolutely. By the way, my puppy is amazing.
You got a puppy?
My new puppy. Did I even tell you I got a puppy? It's actually my wife's puppy. We named her Mickey. She's a mini Yorkie.
Oh man.
Now I'm a big dog guy. Okay, I've got huskies and big dog. This is she's the size of this clock.
Dude,
she's small. She's smaller than that.
No,
in fact, I think she's tiny. Now look,
that's a rat.
Absolutely. And I've never I've never had a small dog like this. I have, again, big dogs. My daughter has a Chihuahua, a Chiweenier dog. which is a big, thick,
you've told me
wiener
about
dog.
that one.
But I have 2 large dogs. And if I could get a Great Dane, I would, because I just absolutely love big dogs. But this thing is so much fun, man. It is so much fun. She's a month and a half, 2 months old. Absolutely the most beautiful, cuddly little thing. She's just so much fun, man.
Oh, wow.
This is the best puppy experience I think I've had. And I've had a lot of puppy experiences. And I love big dogs. But having a tiny little dog for my wife, it was her birthday present. Happy birthday, honey, next week. Is just a totally new experience for me. But because of that dog, I'm totally blaming the dog because I missed it. I totally missed the story about hashtag release the memo. Earl, tell me, what did I miss?
Well, it's an investigation, or it's a classified report that hasn't been released yet. They're hoping they'll release it at the end of the month. A lot of people are talking about that it could actually take a month for it to get released.
I just typed in release the Nemo.
So now...
That's a lot of fun to get Google.
Right.
Instead of memo, I typed in Nemo.
Right now, the only thing that has been released is a memo, and it hasn't even been released to the public in whole, but there have been some Congress people that were given permission to see it, and basically it deals with the FISA warrants. And
the question I've been asking since I heard about the term
This is
FISA.
why I thought you'd be all over it.
Little dog.
And it's dealing with the whole abuse. And to quote Representative Matt Gaetz, he said that if the American people knew what was going on, they would see the very threat to our democracy that is happening. And he said he wanted to get it released as soon as possible because the American people wanted to know about it. Then there was another representative that said, I don't think people are going to lose their jobs over this. He said people are going to jail over this.
Here's an article from The Hill. A growing number of Republicans are demanding the release of a classified report. Well, it being classified is going to hinder it being released.
Right.
Let's just be honest. That they say reveals political bias at the FBI and Department of Justice in the investigation into possible ties between the Trump campaign and Russia election meddling. Now, notice how they changed the language. It's no longer Russia collusion because they know they don't have any evidence of Russia collusion.
Right.
Now they've called
Meddling.
it Russia election meddling. Do the Russians meddle in our elections? Yes, we know this. Did the Trump campaign have anything to do with the already Russian meddling? No. What they're trying to find is evidence of Russian collusion that made Trump win.
Right.
Okay. Representative Pete King, Republican of New York, spearheaded the effort this week to allow lawmakers to view a top-secret report compiled by House Intelligence Committee member David Nunes. Now, Nunes has been all over this story.
Right.
Nunes has been talking about this since, beginning of last year,
Yep.
I think I saw a report on this. He's been against this from the beginning. Scores of Republicans have since viewed the document in a sensitive, compartmented information facility on Capitol Hill. They left expressing shock, saying the special counsel investigation into whether Trump's campaign officials had improper contacts with Russia is based on politically motivated actions at the highest levels of law enforcement.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's actually in the document that Gaetz was given an interview with one of the talk shows. I don't remember which one, but he said there's actual language in there that actually implies that maybe the FBI paid the dossier.
House Freedom Caucus Chairman Mark Meadows, Republican of North Carolina, called the memo shocking. Quote, "I'm here to tell all of America tonight that I'm shocked to read exactly what has taken place," said in a speech on the House floor. Quote, I thought it could never happen in a country that loves freedom and democracy like this country. It is a time that we become transparent with all of this, and I'm calling on our leadership to make this available so all Americans can judge for themselves," end quote. Why doesn't the president just declassify this information and release it himself?
Well, there was something Gaetz said when he was on Sean Hannity. He said something to the effect of that the House had requested this information, and there's some law that Congress can release it if it's been requested from the DOJ, and it's a DOJ issue that they've asked for, because Gaetz said that the Deputy Attorney General came in and begged him not to make them release this. He said that we can't release this, we can't give it to you, we can't give it to the public, is what Gaetz said that the Deputy Attorney General was begging not to release it because he's implicated in it, which is one of the reasons why he didn't want it released.
Representative Lee Zeldin of New York, Republican, said the memo contained widespread evidence of, quote, FISA abuse. Representative Ron DeSantis, Republican of Florida, said the report, quote, raises serious questions about the upper echelon of the Obama DOJ and Comey FBI as it relates to the so-called collusion investigation, end quote. How do you think the Democrats are responding?
They're all hiding. They're all trying to say that it's a rumor, that it's not a real thing, that it's something the Republicans are making up to distract from everything else.
Then why would they need to go to a classified area of the Capitol to view this memo?
Right.
Representative Adam Schiff, Democrat of California, the ranking member on the House Intelligence Committee, called the report, quote, a profoundly misleading set of talking points drafted by Republican staff attacking the FBI and its handling of the investigation, end quote. Then why do you need to go to a compartmentalized area of Capitol Hill to see this classified document if all it is a profoundly misleading set of talking points drafted by Republicans?
Right. But it's because we're trying to distract them from the investigation, because we're trying to take the spotlight off of President Trump and his obvious collusion with Russia. That's what the entire talking points on the
How is it obvious?
Side.
Show me the evidence that makes it obvious.
Right. That's what I argued this the whole week with people, because it actually broke, or it was rumored to break Monday, but it didn't actually come to full head until like Wednesday night, Thursday morning.
Has mainstream media picked up on this other than Fox News?
No. Well, and
see what I did there?
It's also a couple of the people that I listened to on the radio. There was one liberal guy mentioned it, but he just briefly went over it. He said it should be something interesting, because he said the opposition side is saying that it's a deep state thing, and he said he's more interested in learning how deep the deep state goes.
Who created it? Do we know?
I think it's an Obama thing, to be honest with you, because the fact that he targeted Tea Parties with the IRS.
No, what I'm saying is, who created this memo?
Oh, the DOJ. The DOJ created the memo.
When?
Because it was supposed to be given
under Sessions.
No, under Obama, because it was supposed to be given to. When they do the president comes in, they give him the list of everything that's been going on. This memo was supposed to be included in one of those, and it wasn't included. That's why Representative
Gates?
No, the Speaker of the House, Ryan wanted it. Ryan wanted to see it because there were several things that were left out, and he wanted to know what was left out.
Go find your own information. Thank you, Earl, for bringing that to my attention, because I had no idea this memo existed. I'm blaming Mickey, the new dog. By the way, Mickey means little in Alaskan. In Eskimo. I like Mickey.
But it's FISA abuse. The whole
which
thing's
is
FISA
which is
abuse.
what I've been talking about. Was the dossier, the Trump dossier, the now infamous Trump dossier, used to obtain FISA warrants? Go back and listen to last week's show where I talked about lying in federal court,
right,
based on information that you knew was false.
And did the FBI pay for all this?
And now we have this memo that apparently needs to come out to the American people. Hey, I'm all about it. Hashtag release the memo. We'll be right back. It's Earl and George.
I'm Paul George of the Indiana Pacers. When I was 6, my days were spent playing basketball. When I was 6, my dream was to make it to the NBA. When I was 6, my mom had a stroke. So I want you to learn to spot a stroke fast. F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. I'm Paul George. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Smoother than aged whiskey and tighter than turn 4 at Talladega. Earl and George.
Well, the world hasn't ended.
And people aren't dying.
But the American government is apparently shut down, which, by the way, it does every Saturday and Sunday. Just FYI, just don't freak out, everybody. Now, the real deal is that there are people that have been told until the budget has been passed, or a CRA, Continuing Resolution Authority, which we've talked about on the show, is passed by the Senate. It was passed by the House. It wasn't passed by the Senate. Thank you, Chuck Schumer. Lion Chuck Schumer.
Right.
And he's out there trying to blame Republicans. And I'm going to tell you right now, if the Republicans were to blame, I would be the first person telling you the Republicans did this.
Right.
Okay? The Democrats in the Senate. Now, the Democrats in the House, right? They've all voted against it. They're party line staunch people, except for one new senator that I have to give credit to. I absolutely begrudgingly give credit to Alabama Senator Doug Jones.
Really?
who voted for
Right.
the CRA. He
Yep.
was the only Democrat.
Yep.
Now, is he going to vote the will of the people? No. He's brand new, and he has to do that so people in Alabama like me go, good job, Doug. Way to go. Hopefully he will continue to do the will of the people, not the will of Chuck Schumer. But here's the deal. The government shuts down every weekend. If you don't believe me, try to go do something federal on Sunday. Doesn't happen. Okay? Because they get weekends off. You
The
can't.
post office.
Thank you. Even the post office is closed on Sunday.
The post office. There we go. Wow. Meat
Everything,
jerky.
all federal government agencies, pretty much, except the ones that obviously have 24-hour operations like cybersecurity and, Space Command and so on. All government federal agencies shut down Saturday and Sunday.
But not to this level.
Yeah, they do. What they're talking about is, people aren't going to get paid, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's Monday. Starting Monday morning, when the quote-unquote non-essential people are told not to show up,
Right.
which means your government contractors,
Right.
which means what?
Social Security checks.
I mean, all kinds of people. No. See, the
That's
interesting
what they
thing,
say, though.
Here's
That's what I'm
here's
saying.
what most people don't know. And this is why listening to this show gives you a different perspective. Why? Because I used to be, ready for it, people? A government accountant.
No.
So I actually know what I'm talking about. Okay? Sean Hannity doesn't. Nobody on CNN does. That's what
Right.
none of them have ever been. Okay, so check it out. In government contracting, right, you deal with something called allocation and obligation. Okay? So you're allocated so much money based on your budgets, and budgets are done 5 years in advance.
Right.
Okay, they don't just throw together a budget on a Thursday, pass it on a Monday, and the government keeps going.
I wish they would.
These budgets are done 5 years in advance. Don't take my word for it. Go look it up. The problem comes in when you come into disbursements. We'll talk about that in a minute. So the money is allocated at the beginning of the fiscal year, the government fiscal year being October 1. All monies is allocated, all of it. Every single red cent is allocated October 1. Now, it's not obligated. That's where the people don't understand how it works. The money isn't spent, but you're told, Earl, I'm going to give you $100 million for this. By the way, you requested that $130 million to run your department 5 years ago.
Wow.
And it was and it went through the process, and everybody took their piece out, and it went up your chain of command. It went all the way up to the government, all the way to the House of Representatives, and they said, no, we're only going to give Earl $100 million, and you got to deal with that. So 5 years later, you are allocated $100 million to do whatever it is you do.
Wow.
That's how it works. Now, you then you're like, okay, guys, we got $100 million. We need to prioritize what we do.
Yep.
Right? Like, here's the stuff that just has to go. We've got to cut $30 million from our budget. Here's the things that we would like. You have a must-have, you have a wish list, and so on. Then you start obligating the money. Now, by federal law, once you obligate money against the federal government, it must pay.
Right.
That's why when you look at usdebtclock.org, you have a U.S. debt, which means we owe other people $20 trillion. But there's another number called unfunded liabilities. That's actually what's obligated that needs to be paid for. And I believe it was 130 trillion last year. Now it's down to 111 trillion last time I looked a couple days ago.
Oh, wow.
Right? So, yeah, so $20 trillion in obligations was paid for. So unfunded liabilities is what? Are you looking it up?
111.
$111 trillion.
Yeah.
So that is by law what the government must pay for. So Earl wants to contract, an IT contract to come in and do something, and it's going to cost, $3 million, let's say. Well, they write that contract. It goes through contracting. He finds a vendor. They do the bids, and that $3 million contract is written up. Now, that doesn't mean that he immediately gets that $3 million to pay the vendor.
Right.
But the vendor has a piece of paper that obligates the government to pay them $3 million. By federal law, you're going to do it. You have to pay that obligation unless you take them to court and redo the contract and all that other stuff. So you have now obligated the government to spend $3 million of the $100 million you were given. Every single government agency spends every single penny.
Right.
And if they don't, they lose that. We work off of a government system that says if your agency doesn't spend every red cent, you won't get more next year.
Yep. So
you requested 5 years ago $130 million. They only gave you $100 million. They allocated $100 million for you. This year, you are going to obligate $100 million because next year you might get $105 million.
Wow.
That's how it works. Now, let's get to disbursements. The fight we have in Congress right now and the fight we have had every single time the government shuts down has to do with disbursements, not allocation, not tax dollars, not obligation of contracts and spending and so on, but disbursements. Meaning that you come up with that contract for $3 million, and let's say the contract is for 1 year, and every quarter you're supposed to disperse money to that vendor to the tune of $250,000.
Right.
Right? And at the end of the year, or I'm sorry, $750,000. At the end of the year, it's $3 million, right?
Right.
So you then are allocated, based on the government spending, money to cover that quarter's obligations. So let's say your obligations, your $100 million or $25 million, they're going to give you $25 million to cover that piece of it. You're not going to get all $100 million.
Right.
Each through the year, they give you disbursements, right? Even if we don't have a debt fight coming up. So what happens is we fight about disbursements. Now, the fight going on in Congress right now, everybody, is not an immigration fight.
Really?
It is a disbursement fight. It is a funding bill. One of the biggest problems that your Congress does is they don't do clean bills.
No.
Somebody says, "Hey, we've got this funding coming up. We've got to disperse this money. It's sitting in the Treasury. We know it's there. We have to disperse it in order to pay our obligations for this period." And somebody says, "You know what? I think I'm going to attach something to this bill. I don't know, like DACA." It has nothing to do with spending. They can't do a clean spending bill because, North Carolina needs pork railroads and California needs more money for poor immigrants and blah, 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 blah. And they just keep adding crap to it. So they put this, what's called an omnibus bill together that not only covers the disbursements, but a bunch of other little pet projects and bills that these Congress people put in there.
Special interests.
And exactly. Bridge projects and infrastructure and blah, blah, blah. But then when it passes all the time, people, that kind of crap is how our government works. It sucks.
Yep.
And they're called continuing resolution authorities, CRAs. We don't need CRAs. We need a fiscal year budget passed by the House of Representatives, who owns the money, signed off by the Senate without anything added to it, and signed by the President of the United States into law.
Right,
all federal spending is law.
That's what I was going to bring up. This is all happening because we don't have a budget.
Exactly. And the reason we don't have a budget is because of all this other crap that gets put in there. Now, what would fix this? That's the question that people always ask me all the time. "Oh, you're so smart, George. Well, how will you fix this, son?" Yeah, guess who I'm talking about. Have the Congress work a bill at a time. If you would like an immigration bill, work on an immigration bill. Don't add repaving a runway in South Carolina to an immigration bill.
Right.
If you have a funding bill, a spending bill, a budget, don't add a bunch of crap about illegal immigrants. You would be amazed at how well Congress functions when you remove the dysfunctionality. You will be amazed at how bipartisan people get when they don't have skin in the game with special interests. Now, we're going to take a break here in just a second. But I want everybody to understand, we're going to talk about who's to blame next. This fight in Congress is nothing to do with immigration. Not even the Democrats give two squirts about your illegal immigrant problem, and I'm going to prove it to you in the next segment. This is a funding fight, and the Republicans are 100% right. Earl and George. Go out to our Facebook page, like, share. Go out to our website, earlandgeorge.com. Hey, man, you're at home, you're not working, you're a laid-off government employee. Go buy some crap from us. Thanks for supporting Earl and George. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to The Cat Show. Up next, we have Nico. Nico is a member of the Shelter Pet Group.
That's right. A group known especially for their sunspot sleeping, ball chasing, leg rubbing, and of course, companionship. Just look how she struts.
It's like she owns the place.
And see how she curls up and cuddles her person.
The pitch on her purring is simply perfect.
Nice one.
Fantastic cat. But really the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Nico is to meet one.
Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Chris, you're not acting like a grown-up in our relationship.
Am too.
There's your comic book collection, the race car bed.
I'm young at heart, but I put money into my 401k every paycheck. I'm taking control over my financial life, and that feels pretty grown-up to me.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org. Are those footy pajamas?
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
You know you're in the South when everyone calls you darling or hun or sweetheart and you don't care. You're listening to Aged Conservative Talk. Earl and George.
Damn right you are.
Unless it's Ashley Judd, then you get offended.
Like sweetheart. Earl and George, Aged Conservative Talk. Look, I'm not a lawyer. Earl's not a lawyer. We simply have this missing element called common freaking sense and the morals that our parents gave us. Amen?
Yes.
Okay, we know right from wrong. And if it's wrong, we're going to freaking tell you it's wrong.
Regardless of who's doing it.
Exactly. If the Republicans are in the wrong, I am going to be the first person to call them out. Why? Because I'm a conservative. I'm a constitutionalist, as is Earl.
Yep.
I think Mr. Producer is eating salad. Are you a constitutionalist? Just nod. He's like, man, I don't know. He's
I'm eating jerky.
He's still trying to figure it all out.
He's like, I get paid to sit here and push buttons and listen to your show. So if the Democrats are wrong, believe me, I'm calling you out. If the Republicans are wrong, believe me, I'm going to call you out. So is Earl. We are not messing around here. This is important stuff. This affects people that we know. That's what's going on. These Congress people sit up there and they brinksmanship to the day they die, and this affects real American citizens.
Yep.
That they don't give a crap about. And I can prove it. Democrats care more about illegal aliens than the citizens of the United States. I challenge you to challenge me on that. That cannot be said any other way. Period. The Democrats in Congress care more about illegal aliens than you.
Oh, yeah? Why do they care about them so much?
Look, I broke it down. Before we do that, I want to talk about non-essential employees.
Yes.
Because I got a buddy of mine, because I posted on Facebook something that was logical, right? I mean, here's what I posted. If you are a, quote, non-essential government employee, end quote, by definition, we really don't need you anyway.
Yep.
Now, my friend, okay, he and I flew together in Afghanistan. We were both pilots, and he now works for the FAA. And he's a contractor for the FAA. And he's like, look, if I don't work, I don't get paid.
Yep.
Okay, I'm a contractor, too. I understand. I'm a self-employed individual. If I don't clock hours, George doesn't get paid. George got mouths to feed. I got a brand new puppy. Okay? So I understand that. He's like, and he can't make that time up. and that money is lost to him. He's a non-essential government employee. He's a contractor. He says this hits him pretty hard. My reply was, man, I guess you're pretty pissed that illegal aliens are being put before the American people, huh? He gets it. His response was pretty much, yeah. Quote, people fighting to spend money on those given a free pass while those who earned it are left to fend for themselves, end quote. That is a very apt description of what's going on.
Yep.
If you don't believe me, we're here for the next hour and a half if you're listening on Spreaker. Call me. I'll pay for it. 800-684-9925. 800-684-9925. You got 90 minutes.
Clock's ticking.
Clock's ticking. Now, here's the deal. I said earlier, we're going to talk about DACA in a minute. We're talking about who's to blame, right, for this government shutdown. We're going to talk about what DACA is and so on. Here's the breakdown, right, very, very easily and explained to people that ask me, like, I don't know, my mom and others, right? Number one, DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, is not a federal law. It was never voted on by Congress, either house, and has zero federal funding. None. It was what is that? It was a policy created by President Barack Obama. Now, the DREAM Act is something that was put forth in Congress numerous times. It even passed the House, I believe, in 2009. But it never made it to the Senate and was never signed by the president. There is no law called the DREAM Act. It does not exist. There is no law called DACA.
Right.
It doesn't exist. It was an executive order, and many say that it was an overreach of his constitutional authority and executive power. And he told, because he controlled the executive branch, he told the, Homeland Security to not deport children of people that were brought here when they came here illegally. Now, Earl and I both talked about this. There's about 800,000, probably up to 1.1 million, that fall into that category. And they've been here for 20 plus years, living in the shadows of the American liberty. Now, do we give them amnesty? I say no. Do we move them to the head and give them their own lane to become American citizens so we can vet them and so we can go through the same process that people who come here legally to become American citizens? Do we give them their own? Yeah, man, absolutely. These people have been here. They're American citizens at all.
Well, my reply to that now is, what about the people that are actually in line already?
Exactly the problem. This is why this is such a sticky situation. What about their parents? They've lived here for 30 years. Oh, so they've had 30 years to come forward and try to go through the process legally, but they've actually been hiding for 30 years? Now, is that the person that we want living in the United States of America?
And have they been using resources and everything else from the country?
Do we give
those 30 years?
I said this the other day. Do we hand them a Social Security card and a tax bill like they did in 1986?
Yep.
Sure. Yeah, welcome to America. Here's your tax bill. You owe the American people a debt. First of all, you came here as a criminal. Your first act, coming to the land of the free and the home of the brave, was to break the law. Yep. And not only did you do that for yourself, you did it for your wife and your children. Way to go. Or you did it for your husband and your children. Way to go. You've now made them a criminal. Now, I can totally get it. If I was a dad in Guatemala and I had a chance to bring my kids to the land of milk and honey.
Nobody's blaming you.
Are you serious? Do you think I wouldn't do it? But to live for 30 years knowing or possibly being deported multiple times and having to come back illegally multiple times, like certain people who kill people in San Francisco?
And the fear, too. I mean, the living under that fear that you or your family could be deported, it's not worth it. I mean, I know it's expensive to become a citizen, but there are programs and there are people out there that are willing to help. Like, for instance, the Catholic Church donates a ton of money to help people become citizens in this country.
Absolutely.
And they pay for the legal fees and everything else to help them. So living in that fear is it's retarded. You shouldn't be doing it.
So it's slowed down? Because that's actually what the definition of retarded means. Means it's slowed down. You might maybe choose another word next time. Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. I'm going to give you a couple of things that I just very quickly this morning, actually on my way to meet Earl before we came here, that I wrote as a source from a question from somebody that said, oh, yeah, what's your fact check? What's your source? Okay, number one, DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, is not a federal law. It has never been voted on by either House of Congress and has zero federal funding. It was a policy created by President Obama through an overreach, many claim, of executive power. Number two, the DREAM Act is not federal law either. Go look it up. Don't take my word for it. Number three, President Trump, through executive power, ran on and followed through on rescinding DACA, but gave Congress 6 months to craft a bipartisan law to handle the more than 800,000 people who signed up for deportation protection under DACA. Yep, you heard me. The President of the United States, who ran on rescinding DACA and who could have ended by what some claim to be an unconstitutional policy immediately, he could have just stroked a pen and did it. He decided to give Congress 6 months to find a much-needed solution that most people agree on.
Yeah, because didn't he do something about 6 months ago? Wasn't he signing some kind of
executive order? It ends in February.
But he was signing some kind of executive action for immigration, and people were freaking out back then that he was going to kick the DACA people out. And he said, no, I'm giving Congress time. There was something he did 6 months ago that gave them that timeline of the 6 months. I just don't remember what
That's
it was.
Exactly what it was. Number four, the current fight in Congress is a budget fight, not an immigration fight. The Democrats have turned this into an immigration fight when they know they are given more time to work toward a legislative solution. Therefore, they have chosen to put 800,000 illegal immigrants, potentially 14 million, ahead of the well-being of the 300-plus million American citizens. There is no other way to say it. There's no reason why this had to happen right now. However, I'm going to give you one. If you go back and look at the 2013 shutdown comments by the Democrats who controlled the House and the presidency. Was it the presidency? Did they have the presidency? 2013. And scroll through their comments, which I posted a couple days ago, of what they said about the Republican Party, who, by the way, was fighting to not raise the debt ceiling. Okay, the Republicans, the minority party, was filibustering the debt ceiling increase, why we had a government shutdown. They weren't fighting for 800,000 up to 14 million illegal immigrants. They were putting the fiscal solvency of the United States before special interest spending in 2013. And you know what happened? The Democrats held out, the government shut down, Republicans caved.
Yep.
And that's what the Democrats thought was going to happen this time. Guess what? It didn't. But if you go back and you look at those comments, it was like it was like some of them are talking about how this is childish and they're like 5-year-olds and that we shouldn't negotiate with the Republicans because if we do on this, they're going to want more next time.
They called us obstructionists.
5 years later, the roles have reversed, and the fight they choose to shut down the government is for illegal immigrants. If that doesn't piss you off, America, you're part of the freaking problem. You're one of the 300 million people that were set aside for 14 million illegal immigrants by the Democrat Party, and there is no way to defend it. Number 5, this is elementary. It is elementary to deduce why this is happening at this specific time. Dreamers will become Democratic voters, plain and simple. But don't take my word for it. Let's listen to Jennifer Palmieri, communications director for the Hillary Clinton presidential campaign. Quote, "The fight to protect Dreamers is not only a moral imperative, it is also a critical component to the Democratic Party's future success," end quote.
Mm-hmm. Just like it has been since the 70s.
Can anybody explain to me how protecting illegal immigrants over the American citizen is a, quote, moral imperative? Anybody? Can anybody explain that to me? Nobody. Nope. Nobody on Facebook, none of the pundits, nobody on MSNBC, not even Donna Brazile, Hillary Clinton, none of them can explain why this is a moral imperative. But they make it a moral fight to shroud their real intent in some fight for freedom for these people. The real intent is so that they have, so their main objective is of amnesty is clearly to bolster future Democratic electoral turnout. Number 7, illegal immigration is taking an incredible toll on the productivity of the United States. The Washington Times, I lost my place. The Washington Times in August of 2017 said, quote, deporting the country's estimated 11 million illegal immigrants would cost nearly $125 billion.
Wow.
However, allowing them to remain in the U.S. could cost far more. Stephen Camarota, research director of the Center of Immigration Studies, still reading from the Washington Times report, crunched the numbers and found that the current population of illegal immigrants will drain $750 billion from taxpayers over their lifetimes, amounting to 6 times the cost of deporting 11 million people. Quote, Camarota said, sometimes people may say, look, we couldn't deport everybody because it's prohibitively expensive, but if your only concern is fiscal cost, it's pretty clear that letting them stay is a hell of a lot more expensive, end quote. Oh, those numbers are trumped up. That's not real. None of that exists. Okay, fine. That's the Washington Times. In 1996, the GAO, the Government Accountability Office, noted that, this was in 1996, by the way, in fiscal year 1995, $1.1 billion in aid to families with dependent children, the AFDC program, and food stamps benefits were provided to households with an illegal alien parent for the use of his or her citizen child. $1.1 billion were paid to illegal immigrant households because they had an anchor baby. Tell me that's not a problem? This was 1995, people. Now, the vast majority of houses is going to shock you, Earl. The vast majority of households receiving these benefits, 85% of them were in California. Now, let me ask you, America, do you think that number, the $1.1 billion, has gone up since the last 22 years?
Oh, yeah.
Or has it gone down? But hey, don't trust me. Go do your own research and try to explain to me why DACA is so damned important when 11 to 14 million illegal aliens, or just the 800,000 that were brought here as children, are more important than you and your kids. I double dog dare you. You are not going to convince me otherwise. Should something be done? Yes. Should it be done on the backs of you and me? Hell no. Aptly timed. We'll be right back. It's Earl and George. We're going to take a quick break. Who's to blame? I think I just told you and proved to you. But hey, you want to keep talking about it? Let's talk about sanctuary cities when we wrap up the hour and we come back. And how California is threatening to fine you on behalf of illegal immigrants.
Oh, wow.
Earl and George, we'll be right back.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn earrings today.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Michaela's got like the best earrings.
Sarah, buckle up.
I wish my name was Michaela.
We're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
It can be tough getting through to kids, but it's your job to make sure they're wearing your seatbelts. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Earl and George, aged conservative talk. By the way, George is the cute one.
You know, you don't argue with the liner person. They are 100% right all the time.
Well, see, I don't have to pay somebody to say something like that about me.
Touche, good sir. Touche. Sanctuary cities is also part of this immigration fight. Now, by the way, when I go out on Facebook and I say that Democrats care more about illegal immigrants, illegal aliens than citizens. By the way, what did you just said about illegal aliens?
I said that they don't want you saying the word. They don't want you calling them illegal aliens. And in the DREAM Act, the A in DREAM stands for alien.
No.
Yeah.
How racist is that? When I go out and I say Democrats care more about illegal aliens than the citizens of the United States, what Democrats am I talking about? All of them? Am I talking about all Democrats? Like everybody?
No.
All Democrats?
No.
Who am I talking about, Earl?
The left-wing nut jobs.
I'm probably talking about the ones in Congress who actually have voting rights on this bill.
Right.
Because all Democrats, all of you Democrats in the United States don't vote in Congress.
Right.
Just like all of the constitutional people or Republicans don't vote in Congress. So when I didn't say all Democrats care more about, I said Democrats. I thought it would be understood that it was Democrats in Congress. Now people are calling out my absolutism, stating that it's
wow.
that I am now calling out all Democrats in the United States, and about absolute and relative critical thinking.
Yeah, because the Democrats make up, what, like 50% of the country or something
Yeah,
like that?
We're all 48, 49. Then there's 10% in the middle, whatever it is. Here's the deal. If I have to explicitly say the Democrats in Congress who didn't vote, blah, 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 then really, is that the argument? Forget the 8 points I just listed out for you as sources, which, by the way, was requested, Mom. Now you're talking about my relative critical thinking skills? Are you kidding me? So now I'm going to have to, I'm going to put out a Facebook Smackdown comment about critical thinking skills when you totally blew past the facts I just laid out for you. But hey, that's a personal attack on me from my mom. Thanks, Zuckerberg, for creating this madhouse. Sanctuary cities. Let's get on to that for a minute. Department of Homeland Security. This is from an article from last week, because that's what we cover. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kirsten, is that how you say it? Kirsten?
Kirsten. Yeah, Kirsten.
Kirsten Nielsen confirmed Tuesday that a crackdown is coming against sanctuary city leaders. During a hearing on Capitol Hill, Nielsen told lawmakers her agency has asked federal prosecutors to explore the possibility of lodging criminal charges against leaders in sanctuary cities. Well done.
Yep. Agreed.
Quote, the Department of Justice is reviewing what avenues may be available. Now, end quote. What in the world are they talking about? That's a phone thing. It's phones and, yeah. It's only buzzing in your headphones.
Yeah.
So
that was weird.
Here's the deal. What are they talking about?
I don't know.
Quote, the context of this is, of course, not only putting my ICE officers at risk, but also finding an efficient and effective way to enforce our immigration laws, end quote, Nielsen said. Now, I'm fairly certain, again, not a lawyer, just using common sense here, and some critical thinking skills that my parents taught me. Thanks, Mom.
I was reading her comment.
That if you hinder an investigation or a police officer in the duly whatever of their duties,
right? Duly elected
the execution of that is a crime.
It is. Well, it's on the books as being a crime anyway.
I don't understand what authority gives states, cities, you the authority to say, you know what, I'm just not going to do that for you. I'm not going to help you out.
Huh.
Because I can't remember the actual legal terminology, but it's something about, has the word investigation in it, and it's, what is that, man? Yeah, Mr. Producer, you've been arrested 100 times. What is that?
I've only been arrested once.
100. I've been arrested a couple of times. What is that called? It's the impeding an investigation, I think. Is that what it's called? Impeding an investigation? Is that right? That's a crime.
Right.
That's a crime, right?
Yeah.
Like if a cop car is chasing a guy down the freeway and I hinder the police officer from pursuing that suspect, am I not now violating the law?
Yes.
Yes. If the cops are searching for a fugitive Now, granted, if they try to come into my house, they have to have a warrant, okay? But if they're like, hey, have you seen anybody? And I knowingly, like, he went that way, knowing that he went the opposite way, I'm now liable for lying to a
You're an
police
asset
officer.
to
You're aiding and abetting a potential criminal. How is Sanctuary Cities not liable for this? I do not understand it. We need a smart lawyer.
Well, the definition is the term is obstruction of justice, but it says that that it's otherwise impeding an investigation or legal process is what it is. Now, if you're talking about the actual thing that the police tell you it is, it's just going to be an obstruction of justice charge. Because I was going to be a lawyer, but I didn't do it.
Senator Kamala Harris, Democrat of California, asked her about comments recently made by Tom Homan, acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Harris's home state enacted a, quote, sanctuary state, end quote, law on January 1st. Under that law, state enforcement officials are barred from cooperating with federal immigration authorities or asking residents about their immigration status.
First of all, asking about immigration status is almost illegal anyway. That's like asking for your papers. There's legal requirements.
And yet, if I get pulled over for speeding, I have to relinquish my identification, which is a driver's license, which doesn't include my immigration status, but proves my identity.
Right. But that's because you have a license to drive a motor vehicle.
Okay. So me being in the United States is not authorized by me being a United States citizen?
No.
Now, what if you come here illegally and have a green card or some type of visa? Can you not ask for that, your proof of immigration status, like they do in, I don't know, every other freaking country on the planet?
Well, in our country, you're really not supposed to ask that. You're really not.
Why?
Because then it comes down to...
Who cares?
But to them asking us about our immigration. I don't want the cops asking me my immigration status. I'm here. Screw you.
What do you have to hide?
It doesn't. That's not it. It's the principle. It's
okay, but if you go to Germany and get pulled over, they're going to ask you for your immigration status.
Right, but here we set the
whoa,
laws
whoa,
up
whoa, whoa!
differently.
No, don't just blow my statement off like that.
I get that, but the laws are different here.
Why do you have it's okay for everybody else, but it's not okay for America to ask immigration status?
There's the law in Germany that you have to provide your papers. The law here says that they cannot ask me for my papers.
Okay, what about probable cause?
That's where it gets into the legal system. They have to have probable cause to ask me. Like, for instance, if I was an illegal
They have probable cause to even pull you over.
If I murdered somebody, then it comes up, well, are you a legal citizen? That's when they can actually, through their course of the investigation, can look into it.
I absolutely have no problem with them, because when you come into America, and I've gone in and out of America many, many times,
right?
You give them their passport, they look at you, and I've literally had them ask me, are you an American citizen? If I say anything other than, yes, sir, I'm going to go into a little tiny white room where they're going to try to prove my status.
Right.
I was once traveling to Mexico when I was on an international soccer team when I was really young, and we had traveled to Mexico to play soccer. There was an under-18 USD. So I was playing soccer in Mexico, got on the bus, came back. The enforcement officer at the gate, at the little bridge there, the Peace Rainbow Bridge, whatever the hell they call it, got on the bus and went seat by seat. And what you had to do was look at him and say, American citizen. That was the instructions. He said, I want you to look at me, and I want you to say, American citizen.
Right.
He got to the last guy, and the stupid little 11-year-old kid goes, Russian spy, thinking it'd be cute.
Wrong.
Everybody off the bus.
Oh, wow.
Search the bus.
See, that would have been me.
Verify this thing. Verify everybody. And the coach is like, are you kidding me, Steve? What are you doing? I was terrified. I was like, American citizen? Like, you know? I was like, I don't know, man.
And see, at the border, I agree with it, but around town, I don't necessarily agree with it.
What about probable cause? You still didn't answer the question.
Well, probable cause is something that's argued in court all the time.
What about profiling?
That's highly illegal.
Why?
And yet
we do it all the time.
Well, it's
part of police work. Did you know the FBI hires people called profilers?
Right. I know.
It is absolutely not illegal.
It is against the law to profile, according to the Civil Rights Act. So, the Civil Rights Act.
What's our definition? If profiling means, hey, I'm going to pull you over because you're black and you're driving a nice car, that's stupid, and yes, that should be illegal.
It is.
That's not what we do. But if profiling means, look, you're driving a donk down the road, jamming out music with smoke coming out your windows, I'm profiling that you're probably doing something illegal.
Right. Well,
sorry.
And it's a gray. It really is a gray area when
I had a friend of mine as a state trooper in Georgia, and he told me the smartest piece of advice he ever told me was this: yes means yes, everything else means no. No means no, and everything else means yes. And here's his example. He pulls over a minivan, guy driving a minivan, got the kids in the back, got the little stick and everything. And he says, "Do you have any drugs in the car?" And the guy says, "How dare you ask me? I'm a Christian. I've got my kids in the car. I'm so offended by this." Step out of the car, sir. Weed everywhere. Dude. No means no, and everything else means yes. Yes means yes, and everything else means no. By the way, use it in your life. If you just ask a very yes or no question. If they start to hem and haw, the answer is the opposite of what they gave you. I guarantee you, it works every single time.
Well, see, in that particular argument,
watch this, Mr. Producer. Are you gay?
No.
See, works every single time.
But in that argument with the state trooper, he technically still impeded their Fourth Amendment. He didn't have a right to tell them to step out of the car. He had a feeling that they were doing something illegal.
I mean, that wasn't the exchange,
right?
Obviously.
I know.
I'm
just
embellishing, but you know.
But to go with what you were saying about why the states can do it is because the police they have insurance. They have insurance. They're not technically duly authorized. When you get into the legalities of it all, they're not duly authorized people of it. The only people that can arrest us are county, meaning the sheriff, or federal. And the federal people are the ones that are supposed to be enforcing immigration laws, which is why these states are getting away with it.
I have no problem with using the experience and knowledge of law enforcement officers in the probable cause of a potential crime. Based on your years as an officer, I can look. I'm a master of the English language. You may call it profiling, and I can make it sound like the best thing you've ever heard. Now, here's the last thing we're going to talk about when we wrap up this hour. California State Attorney General Xavier Becerra is warning businesses that they could face fines of up to $10,000 if they assist federal officers during an expected, which is coming up, immigration crackdown in the state.
That's illegal.
Becerra made the comment Thursday in response to published reports that immigration and customs enforcement agents could make more than 1,500 arrests during an immigration sweep in Northern California cities. Quote, here's what he said: "It's important, given these rumors that are out there, to let people know, more specifically today employers, that if they voluntarily start giving up information about their employees or access to their employees in ways that contradict our new California laws, they subject themselves to actions by my office. We will prosecute those who violate the law." End quote. What's the most important word in what he just said?
I heard
voluntarily.
Voluntarily give it
So
up.
even if you as an employer in the state of California choose to help federal agents execute the law, he will prosecute you for violating a clearly unconstitutional state law.
Well, was this something that the people of California voted on?
Hell no. Of course not. It's Sacramento.
So it was something that the governor instituted, or that the Congress,
the state,
and then
state government.
So it wasn't voted on. So it's technically a statute. It's not really a law.
Correct. This they have a referendum, or what do they call it? Proposition. They do propositions there.
Yeah.
California does all kinds of crazy things. If you have enough signatures, you can put anything up for vote with the people. That's called a proposition. They numbered them: Prop 8, Prop 6, Prop 13, whatever. This was actually something written and voted on by the people, by the elected officials in Sacramento. Yeah. The law signed last week by Governor Jerry Brown is designed to prevent, quote, all workers, regardless of immigration status, from being detained at workplaces, end quote.
And see, the way they're getting away with finding them is the statutes of giving people business licenses. It's a crap.
Voluntarily helping. If you voluntarily give up information. So what they're saying is that you must be subpoenaed as a business owner to give up information. So doesn't that take away your First Amendment rights?
Yes.
To do something voluntarily?
That's why it's angered me.
No lawyer here on this show, just using a little freaking common sense. We'll be right back next hour. It's Earl and George. Go out to our Facebook page. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you hate. Share and like. Go out to our website, earlandgeorge.com, and thank you for supporting the show all around the world. Hey, look, this is Age Conservative Talk by two guys that were brought up right here in Alabama. We'll be right back. See you next hour.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
I'm Paul George of the Indiana Pacers. When I was 6, my days were spent playing basketball. When I was 6, my dream was to make it to the NBA. When I was 6, my mom had a stroke. So I want you to learn to spot a stroke fast. F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. I'm Paul George. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Two old guys that ain't taking their crap no more. You're listening to Earl and George. Doggone right.
Interestingly enough, a poll done by CNN.
I saw this. I was like, wow.
Constantly negative news.
Just over 1/3 of Americans believe it's important to have a DACA amnesty extension and risk the government shutdown. That's right, people. 34%, according to CNN. The majority, 56%, say avoiding a government shutdown is more important than continuing Obama's DACA program.
Yep.
Thank you, America, for having some common sense. But you know what? The Democrats are living in their own freaking world. By the way, welcome to hour number 2 of Earl and George, Aged Conservative Talk. Really the only show you need to listen to wrap up what's going on for the week, where we don't look. If the Republicans are wrong, I'm gonna say the Republicans are wrong. It's a little bit of common sense and just using the integrity that we both have. 49% of Democrats, only 49% of Democrats value DACA above a budget deal, but the Democrats in Congress are like, the American people want this. No.
Hi, Mr. Kermit.
Only one. Don't say that. We get sued every time. Say Kremit.
Kremit. Hi, Kremit.
Hi. Oh, there. Kremit, you
Kremit.
frog. So here's the deal. Only 1/3 of America wants this. So the Democrats in Congress say, we're like, screw you, 2/3 of America. What about the 51% of Democrats that want a budget deal over a DACA deal? Well, screw you,
Yeah,
Democrats.
for real.
I mean,
They don't care.
they're screwing you too. It's amazing, man. It's just absolutely, this whole story is just absurd and surreal to me. And how people can blame President Trump for this,
right,
is unbelievable and totally dishonest.
Yeah, they tried to get the trending hashtag on Twitter to be Trump's shutdown, and it ended up being Schumer shutdown instead of Trump.
It is completely dishonest. How do you people sleep at night? How do you sleep at night? The president gave Congress 6 months to come up with a solution, which, by the way, ends next month. They still have time to work on it. But the Democrats, based on 34% of the American people, are going to put 800,000 illegal immigrants ahead of you, 300 million Americans. Now, all I want to do, I just want to challenge you. Remember who did this come election time. The Democrats, they are playing the wrong hand here. And I hope and pray that the American people remember this. And I hope the Republican candidates that are running remind you all of this. This is not about saving America from a debt crisis like 2013. This is about putting people who came here illegally, granted as children, and something needs to be done. We all agree on that. But shutting down the government and taking money out of the hands of American people to benefit. Can you do me a favor? Does anybody have a calculator? Pull up a calculator. And I think to get a percentage is you divide 800,000 by 325 million. Is it 325 million?
Oh, our current population?
320 million, 310 million, something like that, 305 million, whatever it is. I want you to take 800,000. I want you to divide it by 300 million or whatever it is.
What,
then,
like 2.3?
What is it?
Or 323 million.
Okay, so take 800,000 because that's approximately how many people have signed up under DACA. And I want you to divide it.
No, it would be like
you gotta
4
flip
or
it,
5.
probably flip the calculator. Divide it by 324 million people. Yeah, got to flip it sideways.
Wait, my mathematics are way off.
What is it? What is it?
Still doing it. Hold on.
Should be like 0.0000 or something.
Yeah, it's 0.0024.
24. So then you multiply that times 100, you get what? 0.24?
Yes,
0.24. Okay. So the people that are affected by DACA, Ready America, 0.2%. 0.2%. So the Democrats are willing to shut down the government of the United States for 0.2% of the population of this continent, or of this country, if you will. Not continent, because
you'd include
stupid
Canada
and Mexico.
Yeah.
Forget them. 0.2%.
Well, I mean, look what they do for less than 1% of the country.
Which one is that?
That's the homosexual.
Oh, that was 3%.
Is it?
It's 3%.
Oh wow, I didn't know it was that high. Now,
yeah,
I still thought it was under 1%.
I mean, if you include all the transgender teenagers and
again, I mean, look at what they're doing for those for that particular
3%.
Yeah,
forget the other 97% of you, by the way, who are normal. You want to fight that fight? We're going to stay on that. I'm not getting on that.
Right, that was
that we shouldn't talk about.
0.2 of it. Why?
Normal? What is quote unquote normal? There is no such thing as normal.
97% of the population is heterosexual. Tell me again what's normal.
Normal is just setting
97%.
Don't matter.
Okay.
That's normal to you.
0.2%. Really? Show me somewhere else in nature where homosexuality exists
I'm
naturally.
Sorry. I did not mean to take us this way.
Bull crap.
Nope, that's true.
Bull crap. Why don't you pull up an article right now by a recognized news source and tell me that dolphins are homosexuals?
Well, they just have sex for fun.
So it's not normal. So it's not normal reproduction. Thank you.
No, so that's no.
0.2%.
No,
the people affected by DACA. The people affected by DACA are 0.2% of the people living in the United States of America.
And that is in nature.
Oh God! You're like my mother.
The DACA
except younger
policy
and male.
The DACA policy was rescinded by the Trump administration on September 5th, 2017.
Yep. But he gave him 6 months.
Full help me with
implementation.
Thank you. Of the recession was delayed 6 months.
Yep.
To give Congress time to decide how to deal with the population that was previously eligible under this policy.
President Trump is evil.
Yep.
President Trump is evil. Where is that? Play it. President Trump. No. Look at the other. Play the other one.
Trump is evil.
For giving 6 months. He could have done it immediately.
Yeah.
Because it was done by executive action. The president had the power to go, you know what? Screw all of you. Bam. Done.
And
instantly.
Homeland Security was also rescinding the expansion of it by June of 2017.
All right, we got to get off this DACA thing. Now, last week, one of the biggest things that came across my feed, I'm surprised you didn't see this, was this social justice warrior giving a talk to literally a bunch of elderly women. If you look at the video, the people sitting in there, and you only get like the first row, but there's like this gray-haired woman drinking water, and she's like wondering what this seminar is going to be about. I don't have a location. I don't have any of that stuff. But literally, play the long one. This is what she walked up to the board and started the seminar with.
All white people are racist.
What?
So I put this up because I really want any white person in the room to know up front that this is what we're dealing with, that it's not going to be this coddling of white tears. And what
Wow.
They're all white people. The video, the room is full of nothing but white people.
What's the lady?
And she's black.
Oh, wow.
And she's like, all white people are racist, so I just want to know for any white people that happen to be in the room. And she's looking at a room full of white people.
Dude.
Can someone please explain to her that is the very definition of racism?
Yeah.
You guys are racist.
Play it again. Play the whole thing. It's about 40 seconds long.
all white people are racist. So I put this up because I really want any white person in the room to know up front that this is what we're dealing with, that it's not going to be this coddling of white tears and what that looks like. We're not going to discuss, oh, maybe some of us have worked it out. No, you're always going to be racist, actually. So even when you're on your path to trying to figure out how to be a better human
being, the laugh of it?
Because I believe that white people are born into not being human.
What?
Like that actually, instead of people of color and black folks being dehumanized, that actually everyone is dehumanized off rip within white supremacy, that y'all are born into a life to not be human, and that's what y'all are taught to do, to be demons.
Oh my God.
So in this particular way, white people are all racist. So I just want y'all to know that up front.
This lady is screwed in the head.
No, absolutely not. She is the latest mouthpiece in what they really believe. They're all. It is a disease, and if you stand up in front, the title of her presentation was "All White People Are Racist."
Isn't that? I mean,
that's the very definition of racism. Is to stand in front of a group of white people and say,
"You're racist.
You are demons,"
and then not taking
non-human,
not taking other people's thing into account makes you a bigot.
And that's what y'all are taught to do, to be demons.
God.
I believe white people are. Play it again. The short one.
I believe that white people are born into a life to not be human, and that's what y'all are taught to do, to be demons.
Demons
Born
everywhere.
into a life to not be humans.
How are we taught that?
I don't know.
I have nothing. I don't even understand.
I'm a white male that's been alive for 38 years. I have no idea how I am not human.
How in 2018 can that be allowed? Now, granted, she has her freedom of speech, and
Right.
and it is,
Right.
I will stand up for her right to say that right there. But the way it was presented to a group of elderly women that you are all demons is unspeakably wrong.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that those elderly people will probably remember segregation, and that's probably why she was doing it.
Some of them may have worked to further the civil rights movement. And here they have a 20-something millennial black woman telling them that they're demons. Lest we forget that Martin Luther King Day was just last week.
Right.
Lest we forget that both black Americans and white Americans fought for racial equality. Lest we forget that Martin Luther King Jr. said judge people on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And in 2018, he would be he would be so disappointed in the civil rights movement. Shame on you.
Yep.
Shame on you for a program entitled "All White People Are Racists."
It's victimhood.
Shame on you. You are not living up to the standard that Martin Luther King set before you. You're not even living up to a standard of moral behavior in any religious organization. You are not living up to a standard of human decency.
Victimhood.
I thought it was the music playing. It was supposed to be playing. Shame on you. And if you believe that crap, that all black people are lazy and all Mexicans are this and all white people are that, I don't want you listening to this show. You just need to go away. Because that's not what this show promotes. I sat last night in a worship service with Christians and Jews and white people and black people and Hispanics and everybody, and we worshiped the God, King of the universe, together, and nobody had a problem with it. Oh, we're not going to have those black people come into our synagogue, and we can't. And you know what the message was about, man?
What?
It was about God loves people. Yes, Muslim extremists attack Israel and attack our country and attack every other country, but we're supposed to love them. Now, granted, my military training says I'm going to love them to death.
Yeah.
Okay? That doesn't
mean
mean I can't be pissed off because of their behavior. But if you call out somebody because of that, man, you know what? I totally disagree with homosexuality, and I think I just proved it to the world. But you know what? I don't hate homosexuals.
Not at all.
We'll be right back on Earl and George to talk about North Korea, another one of my favorite subjects, and the International Olympic Committee and how you people sleep at night. It's Earl and George. We'll be right back.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
Welcome back to The Cat Show. Up next, we have Nico. Nico is a member of the Shelter Pet Group.
That's right. A group known especially for their sunspot sleeping, ball chasing, leg rubbing, and of course, companionship. Just look how she struts.
It's like she owns the place.
And see how she curls up and cuddles her person.
The pitch on her purring is simply perfect.
Nice one.
Fantastic cat. But really the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Nico is to meet one.
Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Mama always said that if you keep playing with it, it'll fall off. You're listening to Earl and George.
The International Olympic Committee on Saturday, today, agreed to allow 22 North Korean athletes to compete in the upcoming Winter Olympic Games in Pyeongchang, South Korea.
Wow. Like, nothing's going to happen from that, right? They're not going to hit somebody with a anthrax attack or anything. What was that stuff that he used on his brother? Or his brother-in-law?
No, I don't know.
That killed him. Yeah,
sarin gas?
Killed him quick.
I'm going to go back to an article that I wrote last week when I heard about the Olympic Committee. I'm just going to quote some facts for you people, but please don't take my word for it because I'm not an international policy expert or a international human rights activist. I'm just a dude in Alabama with my friend Earl and Mr. Producer who like doing radio and have common freaking sense.
Yep.
North Korea is well known for its abysmal human rights record, numerous concentration camps, systematic starvation of its own people, and multiple attempts, some successful, to extort the world under the threat of nuclear attack. North Korea is currently holding 3 American citizens, Kim Dong-chul, Kim Sang-duk, and Kim Had-song. Currently, they are in North Korean prison. Otto Warmbier was released after spending 529 days in North Korean prison. His crime? Removing a poster at a hotel lobby.
A propaganda poster.
He was returned to the United States in a coma, only to die of his incarceration a few days later. North Korea is known for abducting people for use as teachers. As of the 17 known Japanese abductees, only 4 have ever been released. The rest died in North Korea. Since the Korean War ended, North Korea has abducted over 3,700 South Korean citizens. According to accounts from defectors and escapees, North Korea conducts experiments involving poisons, toxins, and nerve agents on political prisoners. One of the most astonishing accounts of life in a North Korean prison camp was of Shin Dong-kyuk, reputed to be the only known person to successfully escape from the notorious Camp 14 internment camp. And now, we're all supposed to just sit back and be lovey-dovey with North Korea as they make peace overtures to South Korea so that they can play frickin' ice hockey.
That's all they're coming for?
Well, I'm going to read that article, but ice hockey's the big one. The international community announcement comes days after representatives from the two Koreas agreed on 5 sports that North Korea athletes will participate in. During a brief press conference, IOC President Thomas Bach offered his sincere thanks to the governments of North and South Korea. Quote, such an agreement would have seemed impossible only a few weeks ago. Do these people have blinders on?
Apparently.
Like, granted, the people in North Korean internment camps don't have internet or newspapers or food,
right?
Where they're picking through cow dung for corn kernels,
or eating grass,
or worked to death, or raped, or beaten because they looked at a guard wrong. By the way, if you go to a prison camp, 3 generations of your family go there too.
Yep.
But the IOC, hey, we're not gonna talk about all that stuff. We're gonna talk about sports. North Korean athletes will compete in pair figure skating, alpine skiing, short track speed skating, and cross country skiing. Additionally, a total of 12 North Korean women's hockey players will join their South Korean neighbors in a united roster playing in special uniforms with a Korean song as their anthem. North Korea's delegation will also include 24 coaches and officials. The agreement between the two countries was reached during recent high-level talks that were spurred. How can you be the leader of South Korea and have your face next to Kim Jong-un, who has himself murdered countless people?
I don't know.
How in the world will this be allowed to happen?
Well, I heard somebody arguing the point that they allowed Hitler to host the Olympics.
That was prior to him invading Poland, by the way.
Yeah, but there were, again, this is according to the guy that was arguing it on the sports channel. He said that there were atrocities that were already attributed to Hitler, and they still let him host them. So that was their counter.
I probably would have been outraged against that too.
Yep.
That was wrong.
Completely.
Well, it was in Germany, wasn't it? It was the Berlin Games.
Yeah, because Jesse Owens represented us.
Thank you, Jesse Owens.
Yep.
By the way, we should hate him because he's black, right?
Right.
Was that what you want me to do, progressives?
The Democrat president did not allow him to come to the White House after he won.
Oh, man. Read your history, people. Just read the history. We don't need to make it up. I am surprised. Now, there is a South Korean reunification minister, and they try to do that. But when you look at these two countries, they might as well be on different parts of the planet. South Korea is a republic, constitutional republic, with a massive economy. Their people are free.
Yep.
It's you go to South Korea, it's like here.
Yep. Except
Probably better. Probably better. Because we don't, they have an immigration policy that they enforce. But North Korea, a totalitarian dictatorship for decades, threatening nuclear war, violating international law, going against UN resolutions, murdering its own people. Shall I go on? Abducting people from other countries. We're all say, look the other way. We're just supposed to look the other way because you know what? The Olympic Games are to bring people together and in under the guise of sporting events, bring peaceful. You know what? This isn't going to do crap. Nothing is going to come of this. Do you think they're going to get done and be like,
all white people are racist?
Thank you. Did I say white? I said white. Oh, okay.
I don't know, but I felt like that was fitting.
Oh, thank you. So here's the deal. You know what's going to happen? The North Korean athletes, because they're so malnourished, are going to come to the Olympics and get their butts spanked and then be executed as soon as they return to North Korea.
Yep.
Mark my word. Write that down, everybody. That's George's prediction of the day. These athletes are terrified to lose.
Yep.
Right? They're going to go back to North Korea with no medal or at least a bronze medal, and you'll never, boom, they will disappear.
Or they could jump ship, try to stay in South
I
Korea.
wonder how many of them are going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know that, and I guarantee you, they're going to. Every single one will be like, "You will come back to North Korea, or your family will be executed, publicly executed." I guarantee you, that's what they've said to them. There's no way these people are going to be like, "I'm going to go represent my country of North Korea because it's freaking awesome." But they've been brainwashed for how many decades to think it's awesome.
Yep.
And they have no frame of reference.
Nope.
Like the kids living with the crazy people in Riverside, California that kept them chained to bed. They had no frame of reference. I'm surprised she knew to call 911. Like, we'll talk about them in a little bit.
Kudos to her, yeah.
I am just, this is an outrage to me that North Korea is being allowed and validated by the international community in this way.
Well, how do you feel about Iran being able to compete?
Does Iran have concentration camps in their country?
No, but
they
do kill people.
So no. No, Iran is on the list of, terrorist organizations and so on. I get it. Okay,
Right.
Iran's a bad place.
Right. I'm just bringing up an argument to say, well, they let Iran compete. They let Saudi Arabia compete.
Do these other countries have decades of despotic governments and known concentration camps? Find me one Iranian concentration camp or political internment camp on Google Earth. Find me one.
They don't have any.
I can point to a dozen in North. By the way, this is a country the size of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Don't think this is weird. Like they have They have an internment camp that is 30 miles long.
Wow.
This is no joke. They take political internment like to level 100. I mean, this is level expert because they've been doing it for so long. You're looking up Google Earth internment camps? Yeah. Again, I don't have to make it up, man. Just go find the research for yourself. I think it's an outrage that North Korea is being allowed into this. And here's why. Not that their athletes can't compete or that we don't want to bring North Korea to the table for negotiations. Yes, I see that. But the validation of North Korea by the international community is the outrage. If anything comes of this, I will be utterly shocked. Because all white people are racist, right?
Right.
We'll be right back. Yeah. No, see? North Korea. Are you looking at them?
Yeah.
North Korean internment camps on Google Earth. Earl and George. When we come back, what are we going to talk about? National security.
Kids in the closet? Or kids in the...
Chucky Schumer. Hey, let's talk about Chucky Schumer. When we come back, we'll talk about something important in your life. I don't know what it is. We'll figure it out. We can talk about my new dog. It's Earl and George, Age Conservative Talk. Don't go anywhere. You might miss something important.
All white people are racist.
Chris, you're not acting like a grown-up in our relationship.
Am too.
There's your comic book collection, the race car bed.
I'm young at heart, but I put money into my 401k every paycheck. I'm taking control over my financial life, and that feels pretty grown up to me.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Are those footy pajamas?
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Hi, Mom. Is Claire's birthday party today? Me again, Mom. Where did I put my history book? Hi. Sorry, forgot one last thing. Sometimes it's hard to concentrate. At school, I start looking out the window, and then I forget what I was supposed to be thinking about. I know it seems like I don't care, but I do. It's just difficult for me. Love you, Mom. Bye.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive. Brought to you by understood.org and the Ad Council.
Mama always said, God made dirt and dirt don't hurt. You're listening to Earl and George.
Because this week was so unbelievably amazing. Not only do we have hashtag release the memo, which I hope they do. And by the way, the President of the United States could declassify whatever the heck he wants.
Yeah, but I think that people have started arguing that he's doing it like they already argue, and that he's doing it just to distract from Russia. So I think Congress
it would destroy the entire Mueller investigation if he did it. Why hold that information back if it would put an end to something that's nonsense and spending useless American taxpayer dollars on?
Because there are a lot of people on the left that believe that somehow the reason President Trump got elected is because Russia got him elected, and they don't want to hear otherwise.
Show me the money.
Right. The proof.
Show me the evidence. Show me the documentation. Maxine Waters, show me the what are you going to the Democrats? Nancy Pelosi said it the other day that the majority of America wants Donald Trump impeached.
Yeah.
When they take over in the midterms in 2018. This week they will not help them in the midterms.
No, not at all.
At all. This week is not going to help the Democratic Party. This was the worst decision. Since I've been following politics, this was the worst decision I have seen come from the Democratic National Party, from the Congress, the Democratic Congressional Caucus, if you will, in 20 years.
It is, it's pretty bad.
At least 10. They have owned the Republican Party in almost every single thing like this, every single fight like this in Congress. They push and push and push, and the Republicans cave. They push and push and push and hold the line, and the Republicans cave. This time, this was a bad decision by the Democrats, and they're going to feel it. They're looking at these numbers, and they're looking at all these, we're going to clean house in the midterms. Who are you polling?
Right.
Who in the hell are you talking to?
Yeah, because they got this against them, and they got the fact
70,
that they...
What is it? 66% of America thinks that you've made a bad decision.
Yep.
And how is that going to help you in the midterms?
The poll number for the tax thing that Trump just did was higher than that of people that think the Democrats should have supported it. At least a few more of them should have supported it.
Poll numbers for the whole Russia collusion is going against them. The tax bill that was passed is going against them. The DACA vote's going against them. There is nothing, and I don't know where they're getting this information from that says, hey, we're doing a good thing.
Well, now they're
politically.
Former President Obama is going to be getting into the circuit and touring and doing all kinds of stuff to help them out. So they're calling in the big wigs to help.
All right, let me read this one. Let me get on to Chuck Schumer. And the reason I led that coming back from that break was this has been such a big week. Stuff is breaking literally right now as we're on the air. Senate Minority Chuck Schumer took to the Senate floor this morning to explain the concessions he made with President Trump during a meeting earlier this morning. Are you ready for this? This is what kills me. They talk about a meeting this morning with cheeseburgers. Wait a minute. It's only, right now it's 12:30 in D.C.
It's 2:30.
I'm sorry, it's 2:30.
Yeah.
2:30 in D.C. What did you have, cheeseburgers at like 9 a.m.?
Well, I know a lot of people that eat lunch at like 11, so.
I'm one of them. During his speech, Schumer detailed the meeting with the president over cheeseburgers at the White House. Schumer said it was a lengthy and substantive decision. That's when the top Senate Democrat explained what concessions he made during the meeting, including, he explained, granting Trump his border wall. Quote, in exchange for strong DACA protections, I reluctantly put the border wall on the table for discussion, Schumer claimed on the Senate floor. Even that, quote, continuing the quote, even that was not enough to entice the president to finish the deal. What does the president have to do with you passing a funding bill other than signing it into law, Mr. Schumer? I'm no lawyer, but I know how this stuff works. Stop lying to the American people. The House passed the bill. The Senate didn't because of you. Not President Trump, you.
Yep.
But the New York Times, I think it's the New York Times. Is it the New York Times? Hang on. Yep, the New York Times says, wait a minute, Chucky. Whoa, slow down. According to the New York Times, Schumer only agreed to discuss the, quote, possibility, end quote, of the wall. Here's what the Times says. As the cheeseburger meal progressed, an outline of an agreement was struck. According to one person familiar with the discussion, Mr. Schumer said yes to higher levels of military spending and discussed the possibility of fully funding the president's wall on the southern border with Mexico. In exchange, the president agreed to support legalizing young immigrants who were brought to the United States as children. Which, by the way, hang on. That's a very broad term.
Yeah.
Okay? Because we agree that something needs to be done for these 800,000 children that, by the way, they're not children anymore, okay? They're like 30.
Most of them.
Most of them are in their 20s and 30s. They've been here for decades. So supporting legalizing young immigrants is a very broad term, so don't freak out yet. Mr. Schumer left the White House believing he had persuaded the president to support a short 3 to 4 day spending extension. Now,
wow.
Let me go back to my vast experience of being a government accounting officer. You ready?
Yep.
Budgets at the federal level take weeks. Why are we going to pass a 3 to 4 day spending bill when it takes a minimum of 2 weeks to write the stupid thing on paper?
That's a good point.
This is a ploy, a political ploy by the Democrats. Because you know what? 4 days from now, guess what we'll be talking about? 4 days after that, guess what we'll be talking about? The House bill passed a 3-week continuing resolution authority. 3 weeks just to get the paperwork done to file and put on the president's desk. 3 weeks. A CRA to pass the budget. This guy's trying to tell the American people that, oh, man, I'm fighting for you for 3 to 4 days. Give me a break. Give me a break. Why? This is why I call him Lion Chucky Schumer. He knows that the American people, by the way, I'm speaking to you, America, he knows that you are ignorant of what he does. I would say the vast majority of you have no idea what Chuck Schumer does in Congress. I would say the vast majority of you have no idea how Congress works. In fact, the vast majority of you don't know what Congress is.
Right.
If I asked you how many people were in the Congress, you wouldn't know. If I asked the majority of you what the three branches of government were, I bet you wouldn't know.
Jimmy Kimmel has proven this.
Yeah.
So has Jay Leno.
The vast majority of America has no idea what the three branches of government are. Right now, Mr. Producer's like, please don't ask me.
Judicial? I don't know.
Come on.
You know this.
Come on.
Judicial?
Judicial's one of them.
Executive?
That's
Very
two.
good.
And I don't know.
See? Now, I'm not saying anything,
I see how you're treating me.
No.
Legislative.
No. Legislative.
Yeah. Legislative. That's
I'm
Congress.
simply proving a point. Now, I wasn't going to ask you, but the look on your face said, please don't ask me. So I did.
Nah.
What are we up to, like 535 members?
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. 100 senators and 435 House of Representatives members.
Wow.
Absolutely nailed it. 535. That's what we're supposed to have. But, people get sick and,
Yeah.
they're empty seats. So 535. But if I ask the American people how a bill gets turned into law, you know what they're going to say? I'm just a bill. I am only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol. I'm not kidding you, man. You know that one from Schoolhouse Rock?
Yeah, of course.
Everybody knows that, but they have no idea how Congress actually works. They have no idea. And so Chucky Schumer plays on that. In fact, the Democrats and Republicans both play on that, but the Democrats have mastered your ignorance.
Yes, they have.
The Democrat Party has mastered your ignorance. And they don't care. That's why during a closed-door meeting, they can come out of a meeting and lie to your face and know there's no way to prove them wrong. The president said S-hole.
Right.
By the way, the same people who are outraged about President Trump calling foreign countries nationals stand outside his hotel yelling, F Trump, F Trump, F Trump. But they get outraged when he calls Africa a hole. Okay, stop with your moral high ground bull crap.
Yeah, and these are the same
Stop
people that have bought 50 Shades of Grey, too, so.
All white people are racist.
Trump is evil. All white people are racist. Trump is
evil.
Play the one to the right of that.
You're quasi-evil. You're semi-evil. You're the margarine of evil. You're the Diet Coke of evil. Just 1 calorie, not evil enough.
Mr. Schumer left the White House believing that he persuaded the president to support a short 3 or 4 day spending extension to finalize an agreement, which would also include disaster funding and health care measures. You know, Mr. Schumer, Senator, that there is absolutely no way you can get the budget deal done in 4 days. No way. Absolutely no way. And yet you'll turn around and tell the American people that you did it.
Yep.
You are so full of your own horse crap that the American people, by the way, will take a bite of that crap sandwich with you and go, well, Chuck Schumer said that he could do it in 4 days. Essentially, if the Times account of the meeting is correct, Schumer only agreed to later discuss with Trump and the GOP wanted if he got everything. Wait a minute. Okay. Only discuss what the GOP wanted if he got what he wanted first. By the way, this might be a great time to go all the way back to 2013, everybody. All the way. To read some of the quotes from Democratic members of Congress, who, by the way, was still Senator Chuck Schumer, Democrat of New York. Quote, when he was in charge of the Senate, when the Democrats were in charge of the House, did they have the House and the Senate? They just had the House.
They had them both.
They had the House, the Senate, and the executive. When they had the House, the Senate, and the presidency, this is what was said about the minority Republicans, who, by the way, were fighting to not raise the debt ceiling. Quote, the bottom line is very simple. You negotiate on this, they will up the ante for the debt ceiling, end quote. That's what Senator Chuck Schumer said, warning against negotiating with Republicans. Quote, I have never seen such an extreme group of people adopt such an insane policy, end quote. You know who said that? Senator Chuck Schumer, Democrat of New York, referring to the Republican minority. Quote, Can you remember a time in your lifetime when a majority political party was just sitting around begging for America to fail, end quote? Anybody want to guess who said that?
Dude.
Former President Bill Clinton, referring to Americans and setting the stage for placing the blame on Republicans. Quote, Republicans are, quote, taking their teddy bear and blankie and saying, if I don't get my way, I'll just bring the government down, end quote. Thank you, Senator Barbara Boxer, Democrat of California on MSNBC. Quote, with a bully, you can't let them slap you around because they slap you around today. They slap you 5 or 6 times tomorrow. We are not going to be bullied, end quote. You know who said that? Harry Reid, Democratic Senate Majority Leader, referring to House Republicans. Quote, it's really a tantrum. It's a Tea Party tantrum. You either give me my way or we're going to shut down the government, end quote. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, referring to Republicans trying to negotiate the passing of the budget. Quote, keeping the people's government open is not a concession to me. Keeping vital service running and hundreds of thousands of Americans on the job is not something you give to the other side, end quote.
Wow.
Can anybody tell me who said that?
Maxine Waters.
President Barack Obama.
Wow.
Now, you tell me who's to blame for the government shutdown, America. So here we are 5 years later, the Democrats are standing firm on a shutdown to benefit illegal aliens, over 300+ million Americans, and the Republicans are not budging. If the Republicans in Congress are listening right now to this show, hold the line. The Republican shutdown during President Reagan's presidency was the only way to rein in the Democrats. Republicans, listen to me. Hold the line. The American people are behind you, even the ones that aren't going to work on Monday. It's Earl and George. We'll be right back.
Listen, as a hiring manager, I've got to tell you, the best job candidate isn't always the typical candidate. Sometimes they're a grad of life.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Sometimes the best candidates aren't the ones you're used to.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You're bringing your daughter to a pop concert. Do you A, wear earplugs?
Isn't this fun, Dad?
I'll have a soft pretzel.
Or B, just roll with it?
Justin! OMG! I love you, Justin! I love you!
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on adoption, visit adoptuskids.org. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Mama was always right, because she said so. You're listening to Earl and George. Doggone right.
Toby Keith.
What's the song?
Beer for my horses.
Whiskey for my
Whiskey,
men and beer for,
yep.
beer for my horse. Yeah. Good song. Good song.
All right. I gotta get away from I'm telling you, man. I am so riled up. I want to do another hour. Like, I am so riled up right now.
Just over the shutdown?
No, I'm over people. I'm riled up because people who are ignorant of the way things work are acting like they know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
Right?
All white people are racist.
We have this we have this center inside of us that says, I'm right. I think I know what I'm talking. I think I know what I'm talking about. Therefore, I must be right about it. So I'm going to convince everybody else how right I am.
Right.
Look, I'll tell you the first person to tell you that I could be wrong. I base what I say off of the facts that I find and read, because again, Earl and I, we consume this like you don't. That's why we do this. We share stuff all throughout the week, and we're laughing and joking, having a good time. throughout the week, and then we get on the show and we're just like, at least I am. But it's the people that challenge the facts. And then you give them the facts, and they're like,
I don't believe it.
Nope. You must have made that up. Let me go to Snopes. Do you know the guy who made Snopes stole a bunch of money, now lives with a hooker?
And he's
okay.
He's extremely left leaning. He was actually one of my douches.
He was. He's still in the douche. He's in the douche. He's running in the douche. So, fact check me, because I guarantee I can quote every single source, and they're not Wikipedia.
Right? Does anybody know what wiki and Wikipedia means?
Tell us, Earl.
What I know is.
Yeah.
That's what it stands for. So it's somebody else's opinion.
You can actually go to Wikipedia, click a button, and add stuff that you think is the truth.
Yep.
And nobody verifies it.
Right.
The only way to get that off of Wikipedia is for people to go to Wikipedia and go, hey, man, that's bull crap. You got to take that off there.
Yep.
And then Wikipedia will go, meh. Once they reach a certain threshold, guess what? They'll take it down. But the next day, somebody will go, I mean, it's like changing the definition of in the dictionary. If you look at the dictionary, what we did, did we talk about this?
Yeah, it was,
last year we talked
fascism, I think.
Yeah, if you look at the definition of a word over time, it changes with the societal consciousness.
Well, they added apparently, I think you
LOL.
might have said it. Yeah, LOL.
Yeah. They're starting to add LOL.
By the way, they also changed the definition of retarded.
Did they really?
Yeah, it now means stupid.
No, it doesn't. It means to slow down.
Yeah.
I'm going to retard your forward movement. You know what a defensive lineman's job is? It's not to sack the quarterback. It's to retard the movement of the ball.
Yep.
Go look at NFL rules. Go look at the people who created football. Go look at what they said. Okay, so referring to someone who has a disability as retarded is not incorrect. Their development was slowed. Now, is it socially acceptable to use that word? Of course not.
No.
Because of the changing of the definition of the word.
Yep.
Right? Marriage is another one. Go look at fascism. Go look at all these words that have changed over time.
Yeah, I think they said fascism now is a right wing.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
Right. Nazism is now considered right wing.
Yep.
National Socialism is considered a right wing ideology.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. How in the world can you?
Wow.
Are you kidding me? National Socialism is a conservative principle? Because they've changed the definition. And we wonder why the people of North Korea don't revolt, because they've been conditioned over time to believe that Kim Jong-un and his father and grandfather were divine. They're the supreme leader. They're God. Generations of people have grown up thinking that. And you wonder why I'm upset about the changing of the word marriage or retarded or fascism? My children have to sit in a biology class where they're lectured to by a progressive professor who will fail a conservative just for being conservative. And he says it and announces it at the beginning of the school year. If you are a conservative, quote, you will not pass my class, end quote. And you wonder why I get riled up about politics.
Shouldn't that be illegal? Isn't it illegal? Shouldn't it?
Well, it's a private institution. The institution would have to do something to it.
I am paying for my daughter to sit in a class where she has to hide her. First of all, it's a Baptist college.
Oh, that's the other thing that shocks me.
It's a Baptist college.
I wonder if they know. I wonder if the administration really knows.
And you wonder why I get
Probably.
so riled up. I spent almost 2 decades of my life defending you. I don't speak for everybody in the military. I can only speak for me. Okay? I will stand up in the town square and defend your right to say things I don't agree with.
As will I.
Will you do the same for me? Will you, progressives, stand up for my First Amendment rights and my First Amendment freedom of religion and my First Amendment right to peaceably assemble and my right to the press? Would you do that to me? No. Because the Constitution is a living document, and your freedom of speech, you get to determine what's hate speech, right?
Right.
You get to determine what part of my speech is acceptable or not. Or is all white people racist now totally acceptable?
All white people are racist.
Or the fact that white people are now demons.
All white people are racist. I believe that white people are born into a life to not be human, and that's what y'all are taught to do, to be demons.
Is that not the very definition of hate speech? According to you, not according to me, because I don't believe in hate speech.
Right.
According to you, progressive America, is that not the very definition of hate speech?
You just called us all demons.
That we're not born to be human, that we're born to be demons because of the color of my skin?
Oh, well, she misspoke. That's not really what she meant.
And yet,
With
here
the
I
nervous
am,
laugh.
here we are, 40-something-year-old white dudes who believe in the teaching of Dr. Martin Luther King more than you do. And yet you have some moral high ground on race? Excuse me?
I actually had that argument with a black friend of mine this last week because he was claiming all white people were racist. And I asked him, I said, have you actually read anything from Dr. King? And he was like, well, I know his speeches. I said, did you pay attention to what he said? Because it doesn't seem like you did.
I'm going to paraphrase. I have a dream.
Yeah.
That's a quote.
Yep.
Here's the paraphrase part. Where little black boys and girls can hold hands with little white boys and girls. Like, by the way, I share that dream, and I have taught my children, because I only control my house, not the White House, to do that.
Yep.
And yet, you're out there saying stuff like,
All white people are racist.
and all men are sexist, and we're all pedophiles, and gay people, don't molest children, and that section of our population has to be protected, and blah, 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 blah. You dare to call the President of the United States insane and mentally unfit, and yet you defend stuff like all white people are racist and demons? How about the president's health thing the other day? Last week,
Yeah, that was hilarious.
the admiral, he's a rear admiral at Johns Hopkins. Is it Johns Hopkins? Walter Reed. At Walter Reed. The same doctor of the President of the United States for President Obama and President George W. Bush.
Yep.
Came out and announced that the president is healthy. He's a little overweight. Join the club, Mr. President. He takes blood pressure medication. The dude's 70, but he is in great health for his age. And every single Democrat said that guy's lying about it.
Yep.
I even had the conversation on a different show that I was sitting in on. They're saying he's 6'2", 239 pounds, right? That's pretty good for 6'2".
Yep.
I'm 6'2", I'm 265, 260 on a good day. I'm about 20 pounds overweight. So he's a couple pounds overweight. He should be, 230 whatever? 240 at 6'2" makes you obese. Technically, I'm obese. If you saw me, you'd be like, what? This is the same doctor for President Obama. What does he gain by lying to you? And if he's a liar, why did he lie about President Obama's health every time he did a press conference? Sanjay Gupta has the incredible ability to determine when someone has heart disease and when they don't.
By looking at him.
Maxine Waters has the incredible ability. Her eyes are so well calibrated to detect mental functionality via TV, via a picture of the man. And yet, you're the people questioning his mental fitness? Republicans aren't out there protesting with pussycat hats on their head. Where's the protest against Harvey Weinstein? I have yet to see anybody protest Hollywood, anybody. But yet you'll protest something that President Trump said, candidate Trump said on the campaign trail, millions of women apparently are out there pissed off about that.
Yep.
Millions of people, according to the Democrats, are pissed off about him saying that Haiti's a crap hole country. By the way, it is. And yet they're the ones out there going, F Trump, in front of his property. And yet you question our mental fitness. And don't get me started on those of us that are believers that you think are delusional. Climate change? Hello? I don't know that we need a douche of the week because it could be every single progressive in America.
Right.
I have said for many years progressivism is a mental disorder. I mean, if we can consider addiction now a disease, why can't progressivism be determined to be a mental disorder? Go ask my mom, who goes out in the desert and leaves jugs of water so that the illegal aliens violating the sovereignty of the United States don't get thirsty. I'm not kidding.
You serious?
I'm not kidding.
That's a little bit out there.
And she will question the mental fitness of the President of the United States and the integrity of a rear admiral who was the Dr. Walter Reed for the last 3 presidents.
And served with honor. Wow.
Who wore a pussycat hat. I mean, dude, I'm telling you, it's a mental disorder. And I love my mom. And I will be there for her.
Right.
On her 80th birthday coming up. And I will be there for my brothers and sisters. But I just don't understand the mentality. You want to challenge me on my sources? I give you all of my sources on Facebook. I literally list them all out. You discredit every single one of them, then start talking about my critical thinking skills? The person who just disqualified all of my verifiable facts and sources is questioning my critical thinking skills? It's all we can do is laugh. But these are the people in Congress that have shut down your government.
Yep.
To benefit illegal aliens over you. And all we can do is sit like, what the hell? Right. I think we're going to forego the douche of the week because we agree it has to be Chuck Schumer and every Democrat in the Senate.
Yep.
I'm going to give credit to the people in the House. And I think every Democrat voted against it in the House, didn't they?
Yep.
And Doug Jones was the only senator to vote for it in the Senate. They needed 60. They got 52. Thank you, Doug Jones.
Yep. Which is another thing people don't understand. They're like, oh, it's the Republicans' fault because they have the majority. You don't understand for an appropriations bill, you have to have 60.
Again, playing on your ignorance of how the Congress works. Do me a favor and go educate yourself, America.
Somebody actually tried to argue with me the nuclear option. I said the nuclear option that the Democrats instilled, I said that's not for an appropriations bill.
Oh, jeez. Unbelievable. This is why I'm so glad you and I and the rest of America don't have access to the nuclear football. Because I swear, man, it's like the scene where Groot has to put the button, like, don't press this one because you'll kill us all. I am Groot. Okay. Literally, we're all sitting here going, what's this button do? That's what America would do. We would literally. Hey, George.
Spoilers.
Yeah, seriously. If President Trump was like, George, I'm going to need you to watch that nuclear football for me for a couple of days. I'm like, yeah, no problem, Mr. President. What's this button do? Boop. That's why we don't do this. But at least we have common sense. I'd be like, nuclear football, everybody get away. I'd freak out, man. I lost it, leave it in my trunk of my car or something, right?
Right. And it would be when we needed it most. I don't know where I put it.
I think we can all agree that the douche of the week is
Congress.
Chuck Schumer and the Democrats in the Senate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that easy to point them out. Look, America, I've had a lot of fun today. I hope you guys have. Yep. I know Earl and I talked during the breaks. We're like, dude, this is a great show. We're having a good time today. But seriously, place blame where it's due. Okay, the Republicans voted to keep the government open. President Trump would have signed the bill should it have been passed by the Democrats. And the Democrats, there's no other way to put it, have put 0.2% of the people in this country ahead of you.
Yep.
And I would, if I was a contractor for the government, or I depended on the services of the government on Monday morning, I would remember who to blame the next time you go to vote.
Yeah, because remember, all those people, they're not getting paid, which means they're not paying their bills, they're not feeding their family. That's what people need to be focused on.
The Democrat Party has held the United States hostage for 800,000 illegal aliens.
For votes.
Yep. For no other reason that they know that they're going to be Democratic voters. Go out to our Facebook page, Earl and George. Go to our website, earlandgeorge.com. Find us on Spreaker, SoundCloud, Google something or other. What is it?
It's Google Play.
I do it every time. Google Play. Go out to iTunes and download our mobile app. Mr. Producer, thank you. Earl, any final words?
Love you, Mama.
Go out there and do something nice for someone you don't know. And remember, everybody, narrow it down to this simple truth. God loves people. Go do it. We'll see you next week on Earl and George, Age Conservative Talk. Y'all have a blessed week.